G'day folks, UFOA is here today at the Westall Playground opening, and you can see behind me here the wonderful UFO that has been built and is the centrepiece of the new park here, which has been put here by the City of Kingston, and it really is a great testament to the event that actually occurred here on the 6th of April 1966, and it marks that event very well. And we've got a lot of people coming along today to mark the official opening, and we hope to bring you some interesting chats with different people that we come across as we walk around today. Okay, so g'day folks, here we are at the Grange today for the opening of the playground, and we're doing a bit of a vox pop today, having a talk to a few people who've turned up, and I have with me Gary here today. G'day Gary.
How you doing?
Yeah, very good, thanks. So how did you hear about the Westall Playground?
I'm working with a local paper. We're coming down here to do some photos of the kids and the mayor and stuff like that, and yeah, just get some media coverage for it all, and yeah, I've been looking up a bit on the websites about it all, and it's all quite interesting.
It is.
I don't want to get too close because I don't want to get burnt, but yeah, hopefully everything will go well.
Do you believe in what happened, or?
I'm a bit of a skeptic actually.
A skeptic, yeah.
But I don't think we're the only people in the universe. I think we're probably one of a being that would be around, but whether we actually do have things landing here and stuff like that, I don't know. I mean, geez, who'd want to come to Victoria at the moment? You know, you sometimes wonder. We set up that satellite with the gold disc and stuff like that. You think that maybe aliens will send that to Earth, whether governments hide that sort of thing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in it all. I can't believe we're the only people in the world or in the universe, but one of the things that I always think about is we always think that aliens are going to be more intelligent than us. Are they?
Wow.
Or not? Or are they at a different level, lower down? And if we do send something there, would they understand it? So, yeah, it's all interesting. I mean, everybody looks up at the sky and wonders these days.
Yep.
And you look at the moon and think, well, you know, we've been up there, and Mars, everything. I think it's an extraordinary thing to be looking at, especially when you go out in the countryside and you've got less of the light pollution, and you actually get to see what an insignificant little dot in the whole thing we are, really.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, so well, hopefully somebody will come down today and celebrate with us, and then I'll get the scoop on it.
What's the paper going to do? Are they going to like just run an article, or promote it pretty well, or?
I don't really know. All I know is they're going to be doing a story on what happened.
Yep.
Well, what's been said that happened, and you know, get some kids in it and get people to know about this. It's actually not quite our area, although we do stuff in the City of Kingston, but the boss did say that he thought it was quite a good story, and that maybe people should know about this place, and maybe we can get some kids and stuff and families from our area to come down and have a look at it. So
beautiful.
Yeah, it's all good.
All good for the area.
Yeah.
All right, thanks mate.
Not a problem.
Cheers. Okay. So I'm here with Brenda, and Brenda, just was interested as to what brought you along today.
Because I was here when we did the first reunion at Westall as a support person to, you know, help others, and I was here with George Simpson and Bill Chalker and Shane, who did the film.
Yep.
So it seemed a perfect time for a reunion and to meet some of the people, hopefully, that I met here, you know, those few years ago when we were here.
When you were here, yeah.
That would be really good.
Yep.
And look at this, I mean, wow. Isn't it amazing?
It's incredible, it is.
I mean, first ever UFO playground park.
That we've ever seen.
And just, I mean, the fact that they're even acknowledging it, you know, that this really happened. That's what they're saying by having that little sign out there and everything. So
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And what's your take on the Westall event itself?
Well, it's amazing. I mean, the fact that you've got two schools, a primary school and a high school, of God knows how many children who actually witnessed it, plus teachers, plus you've got people around the neighbourhood who also witnessed it.
Yeah.
I think, how can you turn around? You can't say it's mass hallucination or anything like that, because it's not.
No.
I mean, this really happened. And I guess non-believers will just not believe anything, even if a UFO dropped down out of the sky in front of us now, if they didn't want to believe it was there, they'd just turn their head and walk away. So you can't make people believe in something if they really don't want to know about it. So, but these kids grew up with this knowledge that it's there,
Yeah.
real.
Yeah.
And I just think it was really sad that they weren't able to talk about it and discuss it, because having been in the same position, I know what it's like to have to keep secrets all the time.
Yeah.
And I think it's amazing that, finally now they can talk about it, and seeing everyone that came here last time for the reunion and how excited they were, and they were just bubbling over. It was just amazing to watch everyone talking about it and sitting down and drawing pictures, and it was just a really wonderful day.
A big buzz was in the air.
Yeah,
and people
it really was. It was really good. So hopefully today will be the same.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, thanks for your time, Brenda.
That's okay.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you. So here I am with Joy, and Joy's joined us here today for the opening of the Westall Playground. And Joy is one of the actual original witnesses who went to school at Westall Secondary College. And for you, it must be a great day, Joy.
Absolutely.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. I think
Yes.
it's just finally we're getting some recognition and acknowledgement of something that actually did really happen.
Yeah, and it's been a lot of years have gone past, and a lot of unbelieving over those times.
Oh yes, that's true too. A lot of people, a lot of ridicule, a lot of jokes, a lot of sarcasm, a lot of, yeah right, you're crazy, what drugs are you on, how drunk were you, all that.
Yeah. So, and on that day, where were you on that day?
I was in the science class, in
Yep.
Mr Greenwood's science class, when the boy came around and flung the door open and said, Mr Greenwood, there's flying saucers, there's things in the sky, and of course we'll start laughing.
Yeah.
And he said, right, well, it's nearly the end of the period. He said, okay, come on. So we bolted out into the oval and ran, and yes, there were things in the sky, and yes, they were flying saucers.
Uncategorically.
Absolutely.
Yes, yeah. And so, did you run over to the fence?
I was sort of back in the oval because I was so transfixed. I can remember, that's still very vivid.
Yeah.
Standing there, and it was like today, beautiful blue, clear sky.
Yeah.
Trying to comprehend what I was actually looking at, because I'd never seen anything like that before, ever.
Ever, yeah.
So I was more sort of I wanted to sort of try and take in as much as I could, because it was just so different and so exciting.
So exciting, yeah. Yep. And what did they actually look like?
Flying saucers.
As you would expect.
Well, that's what I see. If you can only put it down to what it was like, the only thing was, this is my phone, I'm not going to answer it,
Yeah.
into the comic books and all that sort of stuff.
Yep.
That's the only thing I could guess you could,
You could describe
compare
it
it
as?
to. Yeah.
Yeah. And did you stay at the school, or did you then follow?
No, I
the
stayed in the grounds,
Yep.
and then they were, up and down and around and disappeared behind these. That's well it appeared to, behind these trees here.
Yeah.
And then we ran. I can remember then going to the gate, and the next most vividest memory was the army. They had
Yep.
pulled up opposite, and with the jeeps in front of the Hume Pipe factory, and they jumped out the back, and the men were in the camouflage and whatever. So yeah, and that, and
Yep.
then too, I got interviewed later by Channel 9
Okay. Yep.
with 3 or 4 of the other students, and I remember the policeman walked up to me and put his hand on my shoulder, and he said, "Stop speaking and go back inside the school grounds." And he turned his back on me and he said to the cameraman, "And you stop filming and you go away."
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so we
Yeah.
were sort of ushered back inside. I think, I'm not sure who came out, whether it was one of the teachers, but somebody had sort of told us to come back in. So,
And did that ever see the light of day?
We did see it on the news that night, yes, because my sister went, Mum, Dad, Joe's going to be on the news. So she was quite excited about the whole deal. So we do remember seeing that, but of course since then it's just gone wherever it's gone.
Wherever it's gone, yeah, it's disappeared into somewhere.
Cyberspace.
And so in the days after the event, what happened at school then? Were kids talking about it, or?
Yeah, because men had come the next day, the men in black, I suppose, if you want to call them. The men in black had come and spoken to a couple of the other students in the office and stuff. And we were told, of course, don't talk about things and keep quiet. It didn't happen. You're all massively hysterical. Forget about it, all that stuff. And because it was coming up to Easter break, everybody was sort of excited. It was just, that's what I say, it's so different now compared to what it was then, that we were told don't talk about, so we didn't. But I got visited at home by the UFO Society people. They came within the couple of days, and I had to draw a picture, and they asked me about what I saw and all that sort of stuff. And then they came back again. It must have been, I think, a week or so later. So and then sort of
Oh, fantastic! Well, it's really great to see you here today, and that it really is honouring that day so well.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, I'm here with Paul today, and Paul was also in this area back on the 6th of April 1966. And Paul, what were you doing on that day?
I was working in the market garden, just on the other side of the trees here.
Yep.
Yes.
And did you see anything come over?
I did, yes. I saw the object. I didn't see it as an aeroplane. I didn't even see it as a flying saucer. It was just this thing in the sky, and I didn't believe what I saw, because what happened wasn't possible. It just wasn't possible. It was a solid object, and then it started fading, it changed colours, and it changed like translucent. You could sort of semi-see through it, and it kept changing. It took about a minute to change, and then it came through the trees, which wasn't possible because the trees didn't move, and it was like it had to be like a light rays that like how they shine through a tree, and the light rays don't damage the tree, and this is what happened. It went through the trees.
Through the trees.
Not in between them, it went through them.
Through them, wow.
Through them.
That's amazing.
That's why I didn't believe what I saw.
Yeah.
And I was only 16 at the time.
Okay.
It was the previous year that I was at Westall,
okay,
and I'd left and I was working on the market garden. But what happened at that time wasn't possible.
Yeah.
Now, it's possible.
Yes.
You see it in movies.
Yes.
It's possible now, but back then you never heard of it. An aeroplane or craft doesn't just sit there in the sky. It can't. It will drop.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what happened. That's why I didn't believe it. How can it possibly be there unless it was somebody had some way of filming it into the sky, and it was a film. But even back then I don't think that was possible, anything like that.
No, that technology wouldn't have existed.
It wasn't there, no. So I saw it, I didn't believe what I saw.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point, because it was so completely outside of your world experience.
Yeah, and to me it was my own experience. I wasn't aware of what went on at the school because I was at work.
Yeah.
And what had gone on over at the school half an hour earlier or 20 minutes earlier, I didn't know about until the children came over, and they came up to the fence and they saw us, and you could see them hesitate a little bit. Will we go over? And they said, yes, we will. They came over. They came over the fence, under the fence, and they ran straight over to this corner here, where the circle was in the ground. They went straight over there.
Straight to that corner.
Yeah, and I've never understood that, because they didn't see what happened over here.
No.
They only know it came over here, and they were sort of running everywhere to find somewhere to see if it had landed.
Yeah.
And it didn't land over here. It sort of faded and went into the trees. So that's the last I saw of it.
That's the last you saw?
Yeah. It just faded and came through the trees like light rays.
Fantastic.
And that's the last I saw.
Wow, what an amazing, incredible sight.
Yeah, and it's just something I've really kept it to myself.
Yep.
I've told very few people about it because it's something, you know, people can't understand it and they won't believe what you're telling them, so I never told anyone. What's the point?
And did anyone else in the field see it as well?
My boss was there,
Yep.
but I saw most of it. It had nearly faded away by the time he noticed I was standing up looking at it, and he
Yeah.
was opposite me.
Yeah.
And he turned around, and it had almost gone by the time he looked around.
Yeah.
And he turned away, but I'm not sure whether it was the same day or the next day, but the trucks and the army guys came over and one of those questioned him. And
Okay.
I don't know what he said.
What he said
to them.
To them, yeah.
But I've got a suspicion he said we never saw anything
Yeah, yeah.
because the guy went away.
The guy went away again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was probably the best thing.
Yeah, most definitely, most definitely.
Yeah.
And did you just continue working after that, or did you come over here when the kids were there as well?
No, we had work to do. We were loading the truck up for market.
Yeah.
We were really busy. We loaded the float up. We went and had lunch, and then we transfer the fruit, vegetables to the truck after lunch,
Yeah.
and we had to get it all done.
You had to get it all done.
Yeah.
So you basically kept working.
Yeah, we were limited. We were limited what time we had to get everything done.
Everything
yeah.
done.
Yeah.
Oh well, that's amazing. And did
Yeah.
you hear about it in the media after that event? Was
the
it?
next day we heard about it because all the local kids in the area would talk about it, and even my cousin was in the teacher's class. Oh, I can't think of his name.
The science teacher, Mr. Greenwood?
Yes, Mr.
Yeah.
He was in
Yeah.
Mr. Greenwood's class, but my cousin lives in England now. But his father took him out of the school
Yep,
the next year.
yep. And he was gone.
Yeah, and transferred him. He didn't want him because there was too much talk going on about flying saucers and things, and he said, I send my son there to study, not to talk about flying saucers.
Yeah.
So he
yeah.
took him out and
moved on.
yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
no worries.
yeah.
And what's your impression of the park?
I love it.
You love it?
I
Yeah.
think it's fantastic. I
Yeah.
can't wait to bring my granddaughter here. Yeah.
Oh, well, thanks very much for your time, Paul.
No worries, you're
That's
welcome.
great.
You're
You
welcome.
had a great experience.
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just captivated by everything you said. Okay. G'day everyone. We're here with Steve, and Steve's from the City of Kingston. Welcome.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. It's an absolute credit to the council what's been achieved here, and yourself. And you must have spent a fair amount of time working on this project.
Yeah, look, it's a lot of people's efforts. Shane Ryan, who did the Westall 66 documentary,
Yeah.
he and I were discussing stuff about 2 years ago about what we could do at this park, and I thought rather than just putting a plaque in the ground, we decided that we'd incorporate it into the children's playground. I think it's worked a treat.
Oh, it has
So,
worked
yeah.
a treat. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And I think also from Shane's point of view, I've just been speaking with a couple of people who were from the Westall School in 1966, to have some recognition of what happened on the day, which is a greater sort of community outcome of doing this, which is great. Yeah.
It is, yeah. It's an all-round really good story, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
It's and it's good to see that the event's been sort of formally acknowledged.
Yeah, and it's good that it's a council park, so we were able to do that, and it happens to be the same park in which the UFO was said to have landed. So
Yeah. So can you tell me a bit about the design? Where did the design come from?
So I wanted to design a UFO,
Yeah.
and with Urban Initiatives, which is a landscape architecture firm in town, we started doing some sketches of what it would look like and how we would not just design a UFO but actually make it playable,
Yep.
and then how we'd incorporate it in the landscape, what other play features. So it sort of took from there. Then we went to the community, and they gave us their feedback on what they thought the design should look like. We revised the design to reflect their views, and then we built it this year.
Fantastic,
So, yeah.
fantastic. Did you have any other models to work from, or was it purely your own?
It was my idea to have a UFO, and
Yeah.
then Catherine and Jason from Urban Initiatives did some real good research with Shane Ryan's doco,
Yeah.
and came up with the original dimensions, I believe, of the landing circle, which was just over there.
Yeah.
So we've used that for the dimensions of the UFO.
Oh, fantastic.
And we've used a traditional UFO shape.
Shape.
We didn't use anything extraordinary, but I think it's come up well, and it's playable, which is the main thing.
It is, yeah,
So-
which is absolutely fantastic. So yeah, and we should expect a pretty good turnout today.
Yeah, the primary school's just arrived, so yeah, should be good, and it's a great day. So,
no, that's really good. And is the council promoting the park?
Yeah, it's on our website.
Yep.
There's a lot of public consultation that got done while we were designing it, and it went on to 774 ABC Melbourne.
Yep.
So the papers have picked it up. So it's been quite an astounding story, and one that has interested a whole bunch of people.
Oh, fantastic. No worries. Well, there you go, folks. We've had a good chat with Steve, and thanks to Steve for talking to us today.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
No, that's great. I'm here with Kevin. Welcome, Kevin.
Thank you, Ben.
It's a marvellous day today, isn't it?
It certainly is.
It is.
Let me just run down what my experience was. And basically, I was actually studying at the uni doing an engineering course, and I got a phone call from my uncle who had 2 sons at the primary school, and he just rang me up in the afternoon to say that the kids have seen a UFO land at the back of the school. Wow, I thought that's incredible, because we together had a bit of an interest in these sort of things in the past. We always talked about such things, so he thought I might have been interested. So I said, hang on, I'm going to ride my bike down. At the time I lived at Murrumbina, which is about probably 10 miles away, and I was just in my early 20s. So I rode my bike down from Murrumbina down to Westall and met my uncle at the back of the primary school, and then we proceeded to walk from that point through a large paddock, and the grass in the paddock was knee high, but there was a path going through where the school kids used to go down, and they'd formed this path through the long grass. So we walked down through the long grass, and we went a fair way. I reckon it was half a mile at least, down behind some big pine trees, and then I saw there was about 30 people all standing around in a group. When I got a bit closer, I've discovered that some of those people were actually Channel 9 news crew with a big camera. I know it was Channel 9 because the big camera had Channel 9 on the side. Okay, I get into the crowd to where they're all standing and looking, and there's a circular area in the knee-high grass that was flattened down to the ground, and the grass within the circle was flattened in a spiral way, like in a clockwise way, as if something had come down and turned on the grass and squashed it down. And then within that circle, there are indentations. There was 3 or 4 indentations. Okay, so where the dirt was exposed. I'd seen the circles. I headed back home. That evening on the television, Channel 9 actually ran an item during the news where they'd actually interviewed a number of the school kids, and the school kids had actually done drawings, and they showed that actually on the news, the drawings that the kids had drawn, and they were the typical UFO shapes that they showed.
Yep.
I think there was an article in the Herald Sun the next day, just a small article. So later on the next day, I decided to go down again. This time I'd actually told a number of my mates about this, and so they decided to join me, and I think there was 3 or 4 of us headed off on our bikes down to Westall. So again, it was about a 10-mile bike ride. I can't remember how long it took. It probably took 3/4 of an hour at least. Anyway, we got down to the area where you walk off the road, and we had to push our bikes through this long grass, which was about a knee high. And then suddenly I realised there was a barrier all around the main part of the area that of the paddock where we'd walked through before, and the barrier was posts, and I think it was rope and signs saying "Do not stay away." And then suddenly a guy pops up, and again I can't remember whether he was Army or Air Force, but he was one of the services, and he called out to us very aggressively, "Don't come here, go away, go away."
Wow.
And then I looked across into the field where we'd walked the previous day, and there was a number of trucks, and they were Army or Air Force trucks with the canvas back that they used for carrying troops. So they were parked, and then I realised there was a number of, again, Army or Air Force guys going through around the paddock holding devices that looked like Geiger counters. So holding these devices, they could have been Geiger counters or metal detectors. So they were obviously examining, searching for something in the paddock. Okay, so the guys and myself, we were entirely disappointed that we couldn't get into the area. So we headed off back home again. Then about a week later, I decided to go down again myself. So I ride my bike down, and when I got down close to the area where the paddock was, I suddenly realised the whole area was cut.
Wow.
Grass was cut.
Gone.
And not cut 6 inches high. It was actually cut down to probably an inch of the ground. It was really well cut. So I headed off through the paddock again to the area where I'd seen the circles. Oh, blow me down. The area where the circles were was all burnt.
Wow. All gone.
I was absolutely devastated with this.
Yeah.
So I go back home, and it was at that point that I wrote several letters. I wrote a letter to the Herald Sun, and I wrote a letter to the Victorian UFO Society, expressing my disappointment that it had all been covered up, that something had happened. The kids had obviously seen something. I'd seen evidence of official people there. Something had really happened, and all that the newspapers had said over the following days was there was statements saying things like, there was some weather balloons released on the day, and that's what the kids saw.
Yeah, which is totally untrue. Yeah.
So to this day, I have that memory. I know that there was something happened there.
Yeah.
I'd just love to have somebody in officialdom say, yes, we did go down there. We, was it something the Americans were experimenting with? Was it something the Australians were experimenting with? Or was it something from outer space? So I have no idea. But
any one of those possibilities is absolutely a possibility.
That's it.
And what's your impression of the playground that's been built today?
Oh, the playground's fantastic.
Yeah.
The thing that comes home to me is the size of that whatever we call it,
of the UFO.
the UFO shape, because it was about 2 car lengths.
Yeah.
The size of the circle.
Circle. Yeah. Yeah. And that's so it's it's good to see almost an eerie representation of that.
It was.
All these years after the
that's
fact.
Right. And people have said things like, it could have been one of these crop circles like you hear about overseas, where and many of those crop circles are actually fake because people have gone in with lawnmowers and this sort of thing, or you've got the animals, cows or whatever, have rolled around in the grass. But this was nothing like that.
No.
This circular area that I saw, the grass was knee high.
Yep.
Distinct circular area. It was distinct, flattened, but not just flattened haphazardly.
Yep.
It was flattened in a radial way,
Yep.
as if something had come down, twisted, turned anti-clockwise and squashed the grass, so it was all going around anti-clockwise.
In a clockwise direction.
And then there was several indentations into the ground, where the dirt was exposed.
That's an incredible thing that's very hard to explain, and things like weather balloons certainly don't make impressions like that, do they?
No.
So no worries. Well, thanks very much for your time today, Kevin. It's been
Pleasure.
great to see you here.
It's a pleasure.
And we'll talk to you again soon.
That's all right.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Grange. My name is Paul Franklin. I'm the Acting Chief Executive of the City of Kingston. It's a pleasure to welcome you all here this afternoon. The formal formalities are only very short today, and I'd like to call on the Mayor of the City of Kingston, Councillor Paul Powledge, to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Paul. Just start by welcoming everybody here. Acknowledge my councillors, Councillor Ron Brownlees. Anybody else here? Tamara. good to see you here. Just on behalf of Council, welcome everyone here. Friends of the Grange, Heathland Reserve, who spent, I know, countless hours assisting us to preserve the natural beauty of these surroundings. It's a very beautiful and lovely day here to mark this occasion, so thank you very much for coming along. And also I'd like to acknowledge Shane Ryan, the main historian of the, I guess, what this playground is inspired by, is the Westall 1966 UFO documentary and incident, who's travelled from Canberra here to come here today. I remember telephoning Shane after seeing, or I think he contacted me just to see if we'd have a bit of a chat about it, and I'd had a look at the documentary and I thought, wow, this is a really interesting story and would be a great initiative if we could get something to acknowledge it and I suppose to attract people to the city of the terrestrial kind. We kind of ran with it and we thought, okay, well, if we can get something done to inspire, and I'd like to also acknowledge the kids here from Westall Primary School. Welcome. Good to see you all here. If we can get something that's going to, one, revitalise the park, it was in a bit of disrepair, and two, inspire the local kids into, I suppose, spark their interest in the maths and sciences, it would be a good outcome for the city, and as I mentioned before, attracting visitors to the city also. As an enthusiast of science and science fiction, I thought, well, you know, I may as well be the one to kind of push this, and I'm very glad to see that outcome's been delivered today. Hopefully this occasion will prove a little bit less dramatic than the one in 1966, which enthralled and baffled not only students but also teachers from the schools. But I don't think we could ask for a more intriguing backstory to this playground, which was the scene of the biggest mass unidentified flying object sighting in Australian history. Some of the witnesses are here today, and I'd also like to acknowledge them. I'm sure they'd be happy to share some of their recollections after the official proceedings. But just to set the scene, let me take you back to the 6th of April 1966, when students and teachers at the then Westall High School and Westall State School saw something extraordinary. 90 witnesses reported seeing several mysterious flying objects in the sky which hovered near the school's ovals before ascending and descending rapidly beyond the pine trees to the south, now known as the Grange Reserve. While some of the onlookers ran inside in terror, others jumped the school fence and raced down to the reserve. They related seeing one of these silvery objects suddenly taking off and literally disappearing into thin air. The truth of what happened that day remains a mystery, and we may never know whether this is an extraterrestrial or more down-to-earth explanation for what has become known as the Westall 1966 incident. Whatever the cause of this enduring mystery, I'm sure that you'll agree the UFO-themed playground is a terrific link to the past that encourages children to use their imaginations and may even inspire some budding young scientists. After speaking with Shane and reading about the incident all those years ago, I was spellbound and knew that this story had to be embedded into a local park to commemorate the event. Council's extensive $300,000 redevelopment of the old playground area includes the play space, landscaping, car park reconstruction, and a new public toilet will be constructed soon. As you can see, Council's Steve Permeral, in collaboration with landscape design firm Urban Initiatives, have designed a fantastic futuristic play space, including the silver spaceship behind us, inspired by the witnesses' accounts of the 1966 incident. I understand the dimensions of the UFO are the ones that were measured from the crop circle, so it's quite accurate to some extent. Ladies and gentlemen, I'll finish off by saying, look, it really is to inspire and capture that imagination, and I'm very proud to have helped, I guess, deliver this initiative. And I'd like to thank everybody involved, including, of course, Shane Ryan and also Steve Permeral, all the staff, Parks Department, and my councillors who also supported this. So thank you very much and enjoy. I look forward to having a ride a little bit later. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Tom, maybe a few words. I'd now like to take the opportunity to invite Shane Ryan to come forward and say a few words and convey some of the history of the site to everyone who's here today. So,
when I started my research, I was actually a brunette. Now my hair's the same colour as the flying saucer. Flying saucer silver, how about that? I sometimes wonder how many people passing under or by that sign over there at the entrance which says the Grange know that Grange refers to a country house or a farm, and that indeed such a thing existed here for a very long time. But that was, of course, a time long before power pylons and soccer fields with their light towers and suburban houses with double garages. And yet, it did exist, as did the very lives of the people who lived there and on other farms nearby. What has become of their memories, I often wonder, and of the memories of the people who went before them? In a similar way, more recently, but still 47 years and 8 months ago, on a cool and sunny autumn day, here in this very Grange, surrounded by trees of pine and gum and heath and fields brimming and blackberries and fruit and vegetables and paddocks of tussocky grass, some more memories. Memories of something quite unexpected were created in the lives of hundreds of people who came to be working and living and studying in this place known as Westall and Clayton South. 8 years ago, in 2005, in faraway Canberra, I asked myself, were those memories real? And if so, what did they actually consist of, and what has become of them? As my contact with the people who saw the flying saucer and all the evidence it left behind grew from 1 to 10 to 100 to the current 145 witnesses I have been in contact with, I learnt that the memories were very real indeed, that the memories were of an object aptly described by that evocative phrase from an earlier time, flying saucer, and that the memories had certainly survived, but in most cases had been hidden away. Ridicule, or of disbelief, or of damage to a reputation, or in some cases because of fear itself. Today, in this place, the Grange, with its many layers of history, the memories of this particular and most unusual historical event and the people who were part of it are finally given the recognition that they deserve. Truth will always prosper, but in its own strange time perhaps. I sincerely thank the Mayor, the councillors, the staff and the people of the City of Kingston for giving the truth of this 1966 Westall story a chance. And to the Westall flying saucer witnesses, some of whom are here today, I say to you also, thank you. And remember, your memories are and always have been yours to preserve and not for anyone else to prohibit, deny or take away. Thank you very much and enjoy the playground.
that concludes the formalities for today. I just remind everybody that there's a sausage sizzle to enjoy being provided for us by the Clarinda Lions Club, and I think at this stage we can say to the kids of the Westall Primary School, it's all yours. So, so thanks very much, and thank you for your attendance here today.
Okay, g'day folks. So we're here today with Rosie, and Rosie is the director of the Westall 66, a suburban mystery documentary, which was hugely successful and made several years ago. So it's great to see you here today, Rosie.
Great to be here.
Yeah, so just wanted to just catch up with you and just see what your impression of the park project has been.
Oh, look, I think it's fantastic. I think it's terrific. I think it's a validation to, mainly, a validation to the witnesses. That
Yes.
That officialdom in this area, at least,
Yes.
is taking notice of what they said and is treating it seriously. I think that would have a really positive effect on people's I don't know, self-esteem, their feelings, it just validates what they've said they've seen.
Yes.
So, yeah, I think it's a really powerful thing for them. I think it looks great. The kids seem to love it. You know, I think it's fabulous.
Yeah, personally, I think it's the best playground I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I actually haven't had a look at the boards with all the information yet. I haven't had time.
Yes.
To go and I'm interested to see what they've actually said on those, how they've described it and all of that. If there was anything that I'm slightly disappointed in, it's seeing some of the trees removed, and I know they've had to do that for safety reasons, but I think what I used to love about coming down here was that real sense of atmosphere, and it was very it was a little bit frightening, where I think this has made it much more benign, and I think much more friendly.
Yes. Much
more child friendly.
Yes.
So it sort of creates an interesting contrast between the story of the sighting in 1966 and the feeling of coming here now. It's much more open. That could be a good thing. I slightly lament the eerie, kind of dark and foreboding feeling, but you know, the trees had to go apparently.
Yeah, that is a real shame.
They weren't safe. Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
they've chopped off a lot of branches from the trees, and you know, but the crows are still here. I like that. I love that. It's still got that kind of, you know, the planes are still here.
They're still flying over, yeah, because it's a lot different now to when it was 1966. And
didn't see it then, but I believe so, yes. From photos and stuff.
From photos, yeah. And I think that, you know, even the time that I've been here a couple of times before, I'm with you 100% on the spooky feel of the place, and I haven't been here at night, and I reckon that'd be another experience.
I don't think I could come down here at night. Although now we have the lights on the flying saucer that will help guide us
into the right area. Yeah. So So look, it's really great to see you here today, and it's
to be here.
And I think that the documentary that you've done has really helped to make this come to fruition as well.
Well, I think mainly the park itself is really Shane's work in talking to the council and persisting with the council to the point that they came on board. You know, all congratulations to Shane.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks for your time.
Sure.
Awesome. Okay, folks, I have here with me, and it's an absolute pleasure to be talking to Shane Ryan, who has been instrumental in bringing the entire Westall case into the year 2013 and into the modern era. It's a case that's actually had been forgotten through time, and a lot of the witnesses had been troubled by that. And to the point today where we've had the documentary made, and now we're standing in front of this beautiful UFO that's been constructed here by the City of Kingston. So I just want to say that you've done a fantastic job, and I'd just like to have a quick chat to you about what it means to you to see this come to fruition.
Sure. Yeah, thanks, Ben. Look, it means absolutely everything. And it does look fabulous, doesn't it?
Yeah,
look at it.
It's amazing.
I think it's better than the original flying saucer. Actually, it's wonderful. Look, I'm absolutely happy. I'm really chuffed.
Yeah.
What the Kingston City Council has achieved just has exceeded my expectations.
Yes.
I originally put the idea to council in 2011, and of course they mulled it over for a while, gave it a lot of thought, and then got back to me and said, yes, we'd love to do this.
Let's do it.
And took it on board, and it's resulted in this wonderful playground here at the Grange Reserve. And it's very important to me because it's a way of providing recognition to the people who were witnesses way back in 1966.
Yes.
It recognises that what they said happened.
Yep.
Recognises their memories, their experiences, and it provides a place for the kids of today and the adults as well to come and enjoy this place. This place has a lot of history. It predates the Westall Flying Saucer event in terms of the things that have happened here over the years. All of those layers of history. But for this particular historical event, this very unusual one that happened in April 1966, it brings it to the fore in this very place that it happened, and in a way that helps preserve the story and helps preserve the physical location of the Grange as well. And one other thing I'd like to say is that, of course, for some people when they think about UFOs and flying saucers, it can be a little bit of a fearful topic. And indeed, the original story involved some elements of fear. There were people for whom it was a frightening experience, and the way it was dealt with by the authorities engendered a lot of fear and a lot of confusion amongst the children and even some of the adults who were witnesses as well. I mean, that's just a fact. But having the park here, the playground, says to people, it's not all about something fearful. It's trying to bring it out into the open, and it's trying to present it in a way and in a place that encourages people to come and have fun, to recreate, to enjoy themselves, but in the context of recognising the original story.
Yes, absolutely, and it's very good to see that the journey has actually come to this point, and it sort of physically preserves it definitely for the future, and it makes sure that the event lives on.
Yes, absolutely. And what the Mayor and the City Council has done, they've now provided Australia, and I think probably the world, with the very first UFO park, UFO playground. And when I say that, I mean a park, a playground that doesn't just use a UFO or flying saucer shaped plaything as part of a playground, but develops a playground and a park in a way that tells the story of an historical event, an authentic UFO flying saucer event. So recognises it, celebrates it, commemorates it, and I think that's an absolute first for Australia and for the world. And I think that's a wonderful thing.
It is. It certainly is, because the topic in general around the world certainly has its its believers and its non-believers, and generally isn't recognised at an official level in any capacity. And and for a lot of witnesses, for a lot of other cases, I think this will definitely make them feel good about it too. That in this day and age we can actually acknowledge some of these events that have occurred in the past.
Exactly. And it enables the people who were witnesses at Westall, whether they were students or local workers or residents or teachers even, to come down with their children or grandchildren, and it enables them, gives them a place and a space to tell them that story and to connect with them. Because one of the things that came through the research for me very early on and very frequently as I talked to witnesses was that they hadn't spoken about what happened to them.
No.
Over the decades. Or if they had, they'd learnt very quickly not to. And even if they tried to speak about it within their families, their original families with their parents and siblings, or when they got married with their spouses, their children, or at work, they learnt very quickly, often, that it was not a subject to be spoken about. People wouldn't believe them, or they'd ridicule them, or they just wouldn't want to know. And so hopefully this makes a contribution to ending all of that, and also puts the story back into the public domain, because we all want to find answers for what it was all about. The witnesses, myself as a researcher, we all want to know, what was it that happened on the 6th of April in 1966? Where did this come from? Who was behind it? And why was it something that had to be covered over? Why couldn't it have been spoken about openly? Why was there such a response to it by government authorities that led to it being covered over? What was behind all of that? And surely, after 47 years, all this time's passed, society's moved on, technology's moved on, we're all getting older. I think it's time for us to bring the truth out into the open.
Absolutely, I agree with that 110%. I think it's very important that these events that have occurred in the past, now in this day and age, the world is ready to hear whatever the governments have in relation to the topic. And I think that who knows, maybe in another 50 years' time, some of this stuff might certainly come to light. So, thanks again, Shane, for your time today, and it's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Ben. Lovely.
Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Awesome. Yeah, it's really good. Mate, we'll talk forever. Well, folks, we've had an absolutely fantastic day here at the Grange. We hope you've really enjoyed being a part of this fantastically unique UFO event, and we look forward to bringing you some more fantastic UFO stories on VUFOA-TV.